All right, today we're diving into a thought experiment that is just as terrifying as it is fascinating. It's one of those simple-sounding questions that, when you really start to unpack it, reveals the incredible physics holding our world together.
So, what if the Earth just stopped spinning for only 5 seconds? It doesn't sound like long, right? You might think, it'd be weird, but probably not that bad. Well, the reality is a catastrophe on a scale that is genuinely hard to wrap your head around. And to get why, we've got to first appreciate the incredible motion we are all a part of every single moment of our lives.
You know, we live on a planet that is just humming with immense, unseen energy. We're hurtling through space, yeah, but we're also spinning like a top. And the crazy part is, we don't feel a thing. But this constant rotation, it's a fundamental force that governs pretty much everything around us. Get this, at the equator, the surface of the Earth is rotating at over 1,000 miles per hour. That is faster than the speed of sound. Just let that sink in for a second. It's an absolutely incredible speed, a constant, silent rush that we're all caught up in. And that's not just some abstract number for a science book. That is the speed you are traveling, right now, as you're listening to this. The only reason you don't feel like you're strapped to a supersonic jet is because everything else, the air, the buildings, the oceans, the whole shebang, is moving right along with you. This all comes down to a concept called kinetic energy. The Earth's spin gives everything on its surface a truly colossal amount of momentum. We're all just passengers on this ride, perfectly in sync. But what happens if our ride suddenly, violently slams on the brakes?
Okay, so this is where our thought experiment really kicks off. We are going to hit the pause button on our planet for 5 seconds and just see what unfolds. Let's start the clock on what would be, without a doubt, the most destructive 5 seconds in the history of our world.
As you can see from this timeline, the devastation isn't just one single event. Oh no, it's a cascade, a horrifying chain reaction where each second unleashes a new and more terrible force. And it all starts with one single fundamental principle of physics.
And that principle is inertia. Put simply, it means objects in motion want to stay in motion. So while the solid planet beneath our feet might grind to a halt, everything that isn't welded to its core, people, buildings, oceans, even the air itself, is going to want to keep going at its original speed. This right here is the key to the entire catastrophe.
So, at second zero, the instant the Earth stops, inertia takes over. Every single thing not physically part of the Earth's deep crust gets launched eastward at over 1,000 miles an hour. This wouldn't be like an earthquake or a hurricane. It would be a scouring event, literally shearing the surface of the planet clean.
This analogy really helps to picture the scale of that force. Imagine being in a car that slams into a brick wall. Now, imagine that car is the size of a planet, and it was moving at supersonic speeds. Everything inside that car that isn't bolted down would be, well, just obliterated. That's our world in the very first second.
But believe it or not, that initial devastating blast of inertia is just the beginning. In the seconds that follow, the planet's own systems, its atmosphere and its oceans, turn into apocalyptic weapons.
The atmosphere, which was also cruising along at over 1,000 miles per hour, doesn't just stop with the ground. This would generate global winds of a speed and power that's almost unimaginable, far, far more powerful than any nuclear blast, a supersonic windstorm wrapping the entire globe.
And this isn't just wind either. The friction between this super-fast atmosphere and the now stationary ground would be so immense it would superheat the air and ignite pretty much everything flammable on the surface. Within seconds, the planet would be engulfed in a global firestorm. And at the very same time, the oceans would do the exact same thing. With absolutely nothing to hold them back, their colossal momentum would carry them forward, surging across the continents in waves so massive they would make mountains look like hills.
This comparison really puts the mind-bending scale of it all into perspective. The tallest tsunami ever recorded was just a bit taller than the Empire State Building. The mega tsunamis created in our scenario would be nearly 20 miles high. They wouldn't just hit the coast, they would wash over entire continents.
And beneath the surface? Utter chaos. The stress on the Earth's crust from that sudden stop would trigger earthquakes that don't just shake tectonic plates, they would shatter them. The pressure would ignite volcanoes all over the globe, choking the sky with ash. Even the planet's protective magnetic field would flicker and fail. For 5 seconds, the Earth would literally be at war with itself, from its molten core to its burning sky. And then, after 5 seconds of unimaginable violence,
the spin returns. But what kind of world does it return to?
The motion is back, but it's way, way too late. The damage is done. The world we knew would just be gone. It'd be a planet scoured down to bedrock in some places, drowned by continent-sized waves, and still burning from horizon to horizon. A completely alien and hostile landscape.
This table here lays out the final, brutal summary. Our stable, life-giving atmosphere becomes a toxic, superheated mess. The surface, home to all of civilization, all of life, is wiped clean. The oceans are boiled, mixed with the land, and life as we know it is simply erased from the face of the Earth.
When you really think about it, our entire existence hangs on this thread of constant, uninterrupted motion. This thought experiment shows us that we live in a universe governed by these colossal forces, and our survival depends on a delicate, perfect balance that we rarely even stop to think about. It's a pretty powerful reminder that the stability we all rely on is not a given. It's a precious, fragile equilibrium, and it's the difference between our world and no world at all.